Nintendo finally comment on Switch 2 leaks. More Xbox franchises are to launch on PlayStation 5 and Switch 2 this year, and Remedy is working hard to make sure their new online shooter doesn't end up like Concord. All of that on the TripleJump gaming news. Well, hello everyone, welcome back to Monday.
Welcome back to Monday.
Welcome back to Monday. You were here last week, I'm sure, and you're back again this Monday.
Hello.
We've got some news this week, some interesting ones, and some ones I think that might upset people a little bit.
And of course, the obligatory more Switch 2 news.
Yes, sort of though. It's a bit of a weird one. Should we get into it?
Yeah, let's do that.
So you may have seen some Switch 2 leaks. Maybe recently you might have noticed like a constant stream of Switch 2 leaks and utter silence from Nintendo.
Yes.
Well, they finally have commented on a Switch leak.
Yeah, they have.
Not all of them,
No.
a specific one.
Yeah, there've been all sorts of so-called products listed online and people talking about, oh, I've seen one and this was what it looks like and so on. But specifically, they are interested seemingly in the Genki leaks. So that's an accessories manufacturer. So the Japanese arm of CNET published a statement in response to accessories manufacturer Genki's Switch 2 mock-up, which it brought to CES 2025 in Las Vegas to show off to press, which is a kind of a crazy thing to do. And according to Automaton, Nintendo told CNET that the gaming hardware that Genki presented as Nintendo hardware at CES is unofficial and was not provided by to the company by us.
Yeah, so they also had a video showing a render of the Switch 2 and a bunch of pictures of it, and Nintendo told news outlets, again, those are not official. They haven't said that's not what it looks like.
No.
They've just said that is not official.
It's not official, yeah.
And at the time, Genki was saying that this was based on the Switch 2 system and like seemingly were implying that they'd either seen it or had been given the exact specs of it. However, now they have backtracked and said that they were just based on leaks of information that are around the internet and not actually based on anything official.
Yeah, I think to begin with, they did actually say this is based on something we have seen. I don't know if they meant physically in person or we've seen assets and design documents or whatever, but they said they had seen something official. And now a Genki representative admitted to Japanese publication GameSpark that its Switch 2 mock-up was based on leaked information that's circulating in the industry, i.e. the stuff that we've already talked about on the news and you're seeing everywhere, and that the official size of its product was undecided. And Genki also reportedly admitted that it had not actually seen Nintendo's next-gen console, despite insisting it had just days ago.
Yeah, so it's all a bit strange, and I think it's very interesting that this is the one that Nintendo have chosen to comment on.
Yeah.
I suppose, but again, the comment isn't like, it's wrong, it doesn't look like that. It's just these are not official, we're not provided.
This is not official.
So I don't know if, so the Genki representative told this to IGN, and I don't know if Nintendo saw that, like, IGN were reporting that this was given to them by Nintendo, and that was the problem. However, a journalist who was at CES 2025 in a video claimed that Nintendo's lawyers approached the manufacturer whilst they were there. And he said, his name was Julian Teluk, said, I spoke with the guy from Genki just behind me. He told me that Nintendo had already sent lawyers their way, but Genki has nothing to worry about because they've never signed any papers with Nintendo, no confidentiality agreement, no NDA. So the Japanese brand is in the clear. Implying that the Nintendo were a bit like, hey, what the hell are you doing? You're claiming this. And seemingly implying that, like, the Genki guys had seen it. Again, it's all a bit strange, like, in terms of what is being claimed. I don't know if the person who spoke to IGN just misspoke and said that, oh yeah, we've seen it, or if Nintendo spoke to them and said, why are you telling people you've seen it? What are you doing? I think it's kind of crazy to bring someone else's bit of tech to a conference.
Yeah, it is. To present something saying this is what it will look like. I mean, fair enough, bring your own accessories and say this is based on information we've acquired and this is what our accessory will look like. But to actually say, here's a render of the Switch 2, that's a bit of a strange thing to do. But equally, I think this story, in a way, although it's Nintendo finally breaking silence and saying, this isn't, don't read too much into this, I think all they've really done is actually make it sound like Genki probably do know what the Switch 2 looks like. Because for a start, if lawyers have approached them and then I mean, you could also argue, so lawyers have approached them and then Genki has backtracked and said, I've not seen a Switch. Maybe that's all the lawyers were able to potentially say. Like, you have to stop claiming you've seen one or this is based on real stuff, even though maybe they have seen one.
Yeah.
And then also the fact that they've said this is not official, but as you say, they've not said this isn't what it looks like or, any of that. It's a bit like, say someone saw our video game and then made a mock-up of it saying, obviously this isn't the real video game, but this is exactly what it looks like based on what I've seen.
Yeah.
If we said that's not official, but that's not what happens in our game, that's not the storyline, you know, those are two different things. That's,
I don't know what it was about this specific leak that Nintendo felt the need to comment on it. We've heard rumours that there'll be an announcement literally this week, potentially regarding the Switch 2 and its release in maybe March. So we'll see if they do come out with anything new that we don't already know. But more Switch 2 news, which I'm sure there will be consistently for the next month at least.
A strange one.
Yes, moving on now. Also, we're still talking about the Switch 2 a little bit, but mainly focusing on Xbox because they're doing that thing that people didn't want them to do when they did their first lot of non-exclusives. They're potentially putting more of their franchises on PlayStation 5 and Switch 2. And not just any old franchises, some of their biggest, I would say.
Indeed. On Friday, it was claimed by a noted insider that Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 and Halo the Master Chief Collection are both being planned for release on Sony's console, PS5 of course, and as part of Microsoft's new strategy of releasing more games on rival platforms. And later we'll hear that maybe the Switch 2 is also...
Yeah. So we obviously saw last year, we had Hi-Fi Rush, Pentiment, Sea of Thieves, and the other one that I always forget, but it probably wasn't that important.
What else was there?
There was a fourth one, but I don't know what it was. They released on PlayStation as well. Obviously, Indiana Jones has a 6-month-ish, sort of maybe like 5 months, window until that is launching on PlayStation 5. The Outer Worlds 2 is going to be on PlayStation 5 as well. So we've seen kind of a lot of games coming out of Nintendo first parties that are also dropping on other consoles. So this was a kind of, it was almost framed as a test run. Like, is this going to work? Let's see what happens going forward.
Yeah.
And people didn't like it. People called Phil Spencer a sellout. And guess what? It's happening more now, apparently. This is from someone who is apparently very much a reliable source when it comes to Microsoft information.
And I think they may have correctly leaked the Pro reveal date or something like that, the PS5 Pro.
Yeah. There's someone who has all of the goss. But according to Windows Central, that's also corroborated that claim with its own sources and reported that further franchises are also being planned for PlayStation 5, which include Ninja Theory's Hellblade 2, Age of Mythology, that's not Ninja Theories, but that's a different game, and potentially Gears of War 1 Ultimate Edition are also coming to PlayStation 5 this year. So it's going to be interesting to see what we see from new games, because all of these games are already released games that are pre-existing and have been on Xbox for a long time. None of these are brand new games. We're not seeing South of Midnight, for example, their game that they're talking about next week, saying that's also coming to PlayStation 5. So it could be that we'll see kind of older games launching on PlayStation 5, or we'll see new games also dropping on PlayStation 5.
Yeah, I think the fact that we're talking about the Switch 2 here and not, because wasn't there a story last week that Flight Sim might be coming to the Switch 1?
No, I think it was Switch 2, but it was very much... Oh, it's coming to the Switch.
Right, yeah, and it
wasn't. But not the
Switch
one
brand.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking at the time, there's no way a Switch is going to run the Microsoft Flight Sim. So
Absolutely
the fact we're now talking about Switch 2 makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. Grounded. I was on my notes.
Oh, Grounded is in the
was
notes.
the other one.
I just sort of sat there not looking at the paper.
I fully thought I'd written it down, but hadn't. I have. It was Grounded.
Grounded, yes.
Yes.
So I personally don't think this is a bad move from Xbox. They are just forever moving more and more towards kind of Game Pass and Microsoft as a more of a publisher than a kind of a hardware provider. I'm not saying we'll never see a new console from them again, but I think, you know what, why not? It increases your market. I think maybe everyone should do it. I'm not being some sort of Sony pony saying, oh yeah, Xbox games should come to PS5, but we shouldn't share. I think, you know, we live in a slightly different time now where the console war is not really the same. The hardware is no longer like for like. It used to be that there were 2 or 3 or even 4 consoles that were all basically the same thing, but a different, you know, package, different bit of branding. But people provide different hardware services now, and so why not just put all the games on everything?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with with Xbox's new games, to see what they're doing, if we'll see the exclusivity window either shrink or disappear entirely. But yeah, I don't think it's a terrible idea to have these games launching on other platforms. I think it's great for everyone. And if you are so upset that Xbox won't be launching your game specifically on the Xbox, that's crazy. You need to look inside
You'll still get your game.
You'll still get your game.
Yeah.
And they're also apparently going to be a big supporter of Nintendo's unannounced new hardware for the first year, with some of the ports and updated versions of the existing Switch games also launching. On Xbox, from Xbox onto Switch. So that's going to be great. I'm glad that we'll see some sharing, because sharing is caring, and
Indeed.
That's great.
And if that stuff is coming to Switch 2 at launch, that would imply, presumably, that it will be coming to PS5 at the same time. So we're maybe looking at March for both consoles. Though.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Last thing then, we were talking about a specific game and a specific situation, and I'm hopeful. So, for context, Remedy are working on a co-op FPS called FCB Firebreak, which is due to come out this year. And they're making a lot of effort to not end up like Concord.
Yeah, and personally, I think they're sort of doing some of the right things, but it's still an online shooter, and I can't really get behind it. But announced in 2024, FCB Firebreak is a co-op FPS set in the world of Control, and it's Remedy's first online multiplayer game. And while it looks really cool, that might not be enough, say the notes. And I agree. It won't be free to play.
No, and it's entering a market where there's already lots and lots of free to play examples, Marvel Rivals, Overwatch 2, Fortnite, Counter-Strike, Call of Duty, all kinds of things. It's entering that world, which is Concord's biggest hurdle, I think, was the fact that it was a costly game.
Yeah.
But apparently they're aware of the fact that it's not free to play and are choosing to try and make it as accessible as possible, which includes putting it on Game Pass and PlayStation Plus sometime this year, I think, after the initial release.
See, that's something that I do think is probably a good idea. I think the initial thing of it's not going to be free to play, that's probably a very, very bad move. But it's whether they can kind of come away from that and still have some success. So where are we? Remedy Communications Director Thomas Puha explained that putting it on Game Pass and PS Plus lowers the barrier of entry to try out the game, since millions of Game Pass and PlayStation Plus subscribers will have access. Of course, that's a bit scary because so many players will hopefully be there during the launch window, and we hope the game holds up. But it also means there's financial backing and marketing support for the game from both first parties, which is crucial, especially as Remedy is self-publishing this game across all platforms.
They also are releasing the game on Switch and Epic, where normally they've just released their games on Epic on PC. So they are trying to get as big of a player base as possible for the game at launch. And they're also apparently branding it as a mid-priced shooter, which won't be a $60 or $70 game, which is great because I think that is also part of the problem with a lot of these games. But yeah, I think that they're making a lot of effort to try and be different and succeed with this. I think that they've got like a lot going for them that's not a completely original IP, and it's also got a lot of love for the Control universe and what Remedy do. So I think that it's going to be interesting to see how this fares. I also don't think it's necessarily a super like PvP game. There's kind of a lot of benefit for just playing it with your friends. It's more of a kind of Left 4 Dead by the looks of things.
Right, yeah.
So maybe that'll speak for it as well. I think we've seen a lot of failures being PvP 5v5 hero shooters, which it is not, which I think is going to benefit them.
Sets it apart slightly.
Yeah, definitely. But I do think that if you're entering an online shooter sphere, you have to put in the legwork nowadays. We've seen that you can't just be Sony's biggest child and just live forever.
That's the thing. I'm seeing, the fact it's mid-priced, I mean, that's quite good. It's going to be on Plus and Game Pass. That's also good. But then on the other hand, it's not going to be free to play. So mid-priced, great, but it should be free to play ideally. And also, even Remedy saying, and it's really good because it means we'll get marketing support from first parties, Xbox and PlayStation. Well, sorry, but Sony had marketing support from Sony, and they still had a real hard time, well, to put it mildly, getting Concord.
But that is also people. Sony, and they don't really like to market things full
True.
Stop.
Yeah,
so
marketing support from Sony is kind of meaningless, really. So
exactly.
Maybe Xbox will help instead.
Maybe. But yes, we'll see how that fares. I don't think we've got a release date for that yet, so we'll have to see when it comes out if it's launching directly onto these platforms. It seems like it might be coming straight to Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Plus, but we will have to see. But let us know what you thought about today's news, whether you are pro Xbox publishing their games on other platforms, and whether you're looking forward to FBC Firebreak. And also, what do you think is going to leak about the Switch next?
Do you think it was real or unofficial, or do you think they saw anything, or what do you think? What's gone on there?
What's gone on there? Make sure you are following our social media pages to see current news dropping every single day, and follow the podcast on TripleJump Pods on YouTube to find out what we discuss in more in-depth details. In fact, last week we discussed our thoughts and feelings about the 2025 lineup, what was going to happen, and we did discuss exclusivity windows, whether they will be shrinking or disappearing entirely.
It's
so
all
check
coming
that
true.
out. It's all coming true. The wishes are coming true. Ubisoft, Xbox exclusivity windows. What else did we say? I can't even remember.
No, I'm not sure about the rest.
You'll have to watch the podcast. Spyro 4, yeah. But yeah, thank you for watching the news, and we will see you on Wednesday. All right, bye.
Bye.